Welcome to Beyond Profile. Today is Tuesday, November 15th, and we are in a still balanced area in both markets here. Starting with the NASDAQ here to show you guys that we have, I think it's 20 plus days now of acceptance of value in this market, where you'll see that we have relatively equal highs and relatively equal lows. Last week, we actually came into a potential higher low pivot at the unfair low territory down here on these 88s, which also were the 200-day moving average, and you can see where we actually had came into. We're back in the middle of the balance area now. Above the high volume area, which is 2311s. Very big area there for the NASDAQ for this month, and also from a composite standpoint, very big area there for us. And again, this is a market that has acceptance of value. There's certainty, if you will. It has found a range to trade in between this low and this high, and it'll continue to do that until we get some sort of an uncertainty phase or an imbalance state that will either push the market to new highs for the year, or we'll break down below these lows and extend to the downside. Back where this whole thing began from. You'll notice actually where this balance area is being created. If you were to extend this and just look to the left, you would see that, again, you had the balance area from earlier in the year. This was also the highs of this while we were auctioning back and forth. Now that's on the NASDAQ. All right, NASDAQ again still continuing to have relative strength in this market, despite what's going on with all of the financial woes in the Europe. Now let's look at the ES here. If we were to look at the chart side by side, you would notice that again the S&P obviously a little bit weaker here, but it's the same structure that's being built here. We've broken over the prior area of balance, creating somewhat of almost a wedge formation here, or consolidation in the market, as we're making lower highs and we're making higher lows. This is another one of those balance phases where we have acceptance. Instead of it auctioning all the way back down to the unfair lows, or back all the way to the highs like we did over here, you're getting it more of what we call a contractional phase. This is where it's building a wedge type formation, and this again would signal for us to break and go to. We've ultimately been looking for 1300s here, and today, actually in yesterday's trade on that 1243 area, that's the monthly point of control and development here for the ES. You can see that we've actually had broken into that area, and we found responsive buyers, and the market's closing higher Monday going into the close, so that area held. And again, this could be again the higher low pivot. Maybe we come back down into technical gap fill, which would be 37s. At that point, maybe that's the higher low. How do we play into this wedge? Eventually, again, we'll get the extension or imbalance state to either back to this level, to my 1300s before the end of the year, or we break back down and maybe head again towards one of the levels would be this potential gap fill down here. We also, if we composite it, you would see where the volume node is. So market a little gappy. I mean, if you look over the last couple weeks, open higher, gap down, open higher, gap down. This morning, Friday, we were higher, gap down again. So a lot of uncertainty as to what's going on in the Europe. I mean, it's great for us day traders because there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of volatility, a lot of opportunity at key reference areas too, which are important for us when we're taking trades. And again, at some point this will clean up, and it will produce an imbalanced state that will push us, like I said, back to 1300s, or will break us back down to the midpoint of this whole. I think it was 1157 was the key number here to the downside if you take a composite of all of this for the year. 1157, which is really would be almost a technical gap fill at that point on this chart. So keep that in mind if it ever did break and you weren't watching one of our videos. That 1157 would be a key reference area to the downside for the E-mini ES contract. All right, folks. All right, well, have a good trading day, and we'll see you in the room.